Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight. Oh dear, I seem to have lost my window. There it is. Hello, Necromancer. Welcome in. Bonjour. Thank you for the hi. Soliloquy. Thank you for the beans. And hello, May Mortem. Lovely to see you here. Spider Witch, I believe, is your theme. I met May just a little bit ago on Blue Sky, of all places. She did a rather fun little piece that involved comparing several different streamer sites. So, oh, welcome in, Brian. Would you mind shouting out May Mortem 69 here, please? Really lovely to have you here with us tonight. Hello, Fern. Welcome in. Good to see you, bud. Glad you've decided to join us here. Well, you're very welcome. As a point of reference, May Mortem's content is 18 plus, whereas we try to keep the stream here all ages. Some of the people that we find in our great community are not all ages. So, oh, Brian's on phone. Heck. Okay, let's get the shout out handled correctly then, rather than forcing Brian to deal with the phone interface for this. You can't do your job. Oh, that's all right, Brian. I'm always delighted to see you all the same. You shall behave yourself here. Oh, I'm sure you will. Everybody behaves themselves here. That's just how we do. And yes, so we are going to be reading a story tonight. Unfortunately, the one that Fern had originally requested was not one that I had on hand. So, we are going to dive back in and do some Winnie the Pooh this time around. And hopefully it will be a grand time for everybody. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump right on in. Oh, okay, cool, we got this. And let's switch over to the music. I have a different playlist that I'm using here tonight because I know we had previously been using Eon Grimm material, and I can't actually tell if that material was stolen. Oh, the squats and stretchies. Time for chaos. I see, Brian. Well, congratulations. Oh, sorry. Alright, squats it is. Do in whatever order I want. Well, alright then. Squats 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Alright. Yay, chaos indeed, Fern. And a hydrate along with it. Well, thank you. Alright, stretchies and hydrate complete. Thank you for the redeems, Brian. It's always lovely to have people helping make sure I'm taking care of my health. Alright, we'll give it just a moment for any other things that people have queued up to clear through here. And alrighty then. Need hydration to let off the dehydration? What is dehydration? Is this the thing I should be worried about? Here is Edward Bear, coming downstairs now, bump, 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 on the back of his head behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs. But sometimes he feels there really is another way, if only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, here he is at the bottom, and ready to be introduced to you. Winnie the Pooh. When I first heard his name, I said, just as you are going to say, but I thought he was a boy. So did I, said Christopher Robin. Well, then don't you call him Winnie? I don't. But you said, he's Winnie the Pooh. Don't you know what there means? Yes, now I do, I said quickly. And I hope you do too, because it is all the explanation you are going to get. It's a stream joke? Oh, well, okay then. Thank you for letting me know, Brian. Sometimes Winnie the Pooh likes a game of some sort when he comes downstairs, and sometimes he likes to sit quietly in front of the fire and listen to a story. This evening... What about a story? Said Christopher Robin. What about a story? Could you, very sweetly, tell Winnie the Pooh one? I suppose I could. What sort of stories does he like? About himself, because he's that sort of bear. Oh, I see. So could you, very sweetly? I'll try. And so I tried. Once upon a time, a very long time ago now, about last Friday, Winnie the Pooh lived in a forest all by himself under the name of Sanders. What does under the name mean? It means that he had the name over the door in gold letters, and he lived under it. Winnie the Pooh wasn't quite sure. No, I am, said a growly voice. Then I will go on. One day, when he was out walking, he came to an open place in the middle of the forest. And in the middle of this place was a large oak tree, and from the top of the tree there came a loud, buzzing noise. Oh, your favorite toy? Winnie the Pooh? Favorite story is Winnie the Pooh? It very much is, yes. Winnie the Pooh sat down at the foot of the tree, put his head between his paws, and began to think. First of all, he said to himself, That buzzing means something. You don't get a buzzing noise like that, just buzzing and buzzing, without it meaning something. If there's a buzzing noise, somebody's making a buzzing noise, and the only reason for making a buzzing noise that I know of is because you're a bee. Then he thought another long time and said, And the only reason for being a bee that I know of is making honey. And then he got up and said, And the only reason for making honey is so I can eat it. So he began to climb the tree. I don't know if I agree with Pooh's reasoning here. He climbed, and he climbed, and he climbed, and as he climbed, he sang a little song to himself. It went something like this. Isn't it funny how a bear likes honey? Buzz, buzz, buzz. I wonder why he does. Then he climbed a little further, and a little further, and a little further. By that time, he had thought of another song. All the gust for you? He's a bear, it's fine. I see. It's a very funny thought that if bears were bees, they'd build their nests at the bottom of trees. And that being so, if the bees were bears, we shouldn't have to climb up all these stairs. He was getting rather tired by this time, so that is why he sang a complaining song. He was nearly there now, and if he just stood on that branch... Crack! Oh, help! Said Pooh as he dropped 10 feet onto the branch below him. If only I hadn't... He bounced 20 feet onto the next branch. You see what I meant to do, he explained as he turned head over heels and crashed onto another branch 30 feet below. What I meant to do... Of course, that was rather... he admitted as he slithered very quickly through the next 6 branches. It all comes, I suppose, he decided as he said goodbye to the last branch, spun around 3 times, and flew gracefully into a gorse bush. It all comes of liking honey so much. Oh, help! He crawled out of the gorse bush, brushed the prickles from his nose, and began to think again. And the first person he thought of was Christopher Robin. He's head over heels for honey. Yes, very much. That what? All the honey? All just for you. Oh, okay, I get it now. Hello, someone. Welcome in. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Was that me? Said Christopher Robin in an odd voice, hardly daring to believe it. That was you. Christopher Robin said nothing, but his eyes got larger and larger, and his face got pinker and pinker. So Winnie the Pooh went round to his friend Christopher Robin, who lived behind a green door in another part of the forest. That's why you wear a hard hat when collecting honey. I like this idea, Fern. Always wear protective equipment when you go out taking honey from bees. Good morning, Christopher Robin, he said. Good morning, Winnie the Pooh, said you. I wonder if you've got such a thing as a balloon about you. A balloon? Yes, I just said to myself coming along, I wonder if Christopher Robin has such a thing as a balloon about him. I just said it to myself, thinking of balloons and wondering. What do you want a balloon for? Winnie the Pooh looked around to see that nobody was listening, put his paw to his mouth, and said in a deep whisper, Honey. But you don't get honey with balloons. I do. Oh, and I see some dancing dinosaurs. Hello, Teddy Pangolin. Welcome in. Thank you for the dancing dinos. Ryan, have a good lurk. Appreciate you dropping in. Fern going, whoo! Yes, we got owls in the chat now. Woo-hoo! Well, it just happened that you had been to a party the day before at the house of your friend Piglet, and you had balloons at the party. You had a great big green balloon, and one of Rabbit's relations had a little big blue one, and had left it behind, being really too young to go to a party at all, and so you had brought the green one and the blue one home with you. Which one would you like? You asked Pooh. He put his head between his paws and thought very carefully. It's like this. When you go after honey with a balloon, the great thing is not to let the bees know that you're coming. Now, if you have a green balloon, they might think you were only part of the tree and not notice you. And if you have a blue balloon, they might think you were only part of the sky and not notice you. And the question is, which is more likely? Wouldn't they notice you underneath the balloon? Well, they might or might not. You never can tell with bees. He thought for a moment and said, I shall try to look like a small black cloud. That will deceive them. And then you had better have the blue balloon. And so it was decided. Well, you both went out with the blue balloon, and you took your gun with you, just in case, as you always did. And Winnie the Pooh went to a very muddy place that he knew of, and rolled until he was black all over. And then, when the balloon was blown up as big, and you and Pooh were both holding on to the string, you let go suddenly, and Pooh Bear floated gracefully up into the sky and stayed there, level with the top of the tree, and about 20 feet away from it. I am gonna try shrinking this down a little bit so I can see the chat better. Sorry if that messes with things here. We'll just make sure it's all broadcasting properly. Well. Celine, why are you awoken an hour and 30 minutes early on a day you're not in a need to go in as early as usual? Well, Teddy, because I am going live on time instead of an hour and a half late. And apparently I needed this reminder that I'm usually late. So, thank you for that, Teddy. But It's all fine. It's all fine. We have good fun around here. Is that a floating bear? No, no, it's a storm cloud, Fern. It's a storm cloud. Is that why you're awoken early? Because I'm on time for once? Yes. Yes, it is. We're going with that. But I'm glad you've joined us, Teddy. Lovely to see you. Hooray! You shouted. Isn't that fine? Shouted Winnie the Pooh down to you. What do I look like? You look like a bear holding on to a balloon. Not like a small black cloud in the blue sky? Not very much. Ah, well, perhaps from up here it looks different. And as I say, you never can tell with bees. There was no wind to blow him nearer to the tree, so there he stayed. He could see the honey, he could smell the honey, but he couldn't quite reach the honey. After a little while he called down to you. Christopher Robin. Hello? I think the bees suspect something. What sort of thing? I don't know, but something tells me that they're suspicious. They look kind of sus, as the kids might say. Perhaps they think that you're after their honey. Oh, it may be that. You never can tell with bees. There's another little silence, and then he called down to you again. Christopher Robin? Yes? Have you an umbrella in your house? I think so. Would you bring it out here and walk up and down with it and look up at me every now and then and say, "Tut tut, it looks like rain"? If you did that, I think it would help the deception which we are practicing on these bees. Bee says, well, that looks strange. Yes, indeed. I think it looks very much like a bee trying to take our honey. I don't know, I think it looks vaguely like a black rain cloud. And that one happens to be shaped like a bear. Really? Really, Claudette? This is how we're doing it? I think so. Well, you laughed to yourself and said, silly old bear. But you didn't say it aloud because you were so fond of him, and you went home for your umbrella. Oh, there you are, called down Winnie the Pooh as soon as you got back to the tree. I was beginning to get anxious. I have discovered that the bees are now definitely suspicious. Shall I put my umbrella up? Yes, but wait a moment. We must be practical. The important bee to deceive is the queen bee. Can you see which is the queen bee from down there? No. A pity. Oh, well now, if you walk up and down with your umbrella saying, "Tut tut, it looks like rain," I shall do what I can by singing a little cloud song, such as a cloud might sing. Go. So while you walked up and down and wondered if it would rain, Winnie the Pooh sang this song. How sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. Every little cloud always sings aloud. How sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. It makes him very proud to be a little cloud. The bees were still buzzing as suspiciously as ever. Some of them indeed left their nests and flew all around the cloud as it began the second verse of this song. And one bee sat down on the nose of the cloud for a moment, and then got up again. See, this is why you asked the queen on a date. She'll be so flustered you can steal the honey while she's bemused. I see. Necromancer's first idea. Riz the queen bee. It's a choice. So, do you come here often? I live here. Well, then I suppose that explains why it's so nice. Yes, a cloud singing, that's normal. I'm sure it is. Don't all the clouds just pass by humming about how very cloud-like they are? Christopher! Oh, Robin! Yes? I have just now been thinking, and I have come to a very important decision. These are the wrong sorts of bees. Are they? Quite the wrong sort. So I should think they would want to make the wrong sort of honey, shouldn't you? Would they? Yes. So I think I shall come down. How? Winnie the Pooh hadn't thought about this. If he let go of the string, he would fall. Bump. And he didn't like the idea of that, so he thought for a long time, and he said, Christopher Robin, you must shoot the balloon with your gun. Have you got your gun? Of course I have, but if I do that, it will spoil the balloon. But if you don't, I shall have to let go, and that would spoil me. Well, when he put it like this, you saw how it was, and you aimed very carefully at the balloon, and fired. Ow! Did I miss? You didn't exactly miss, but you missed the balloon. I'm so sorry, you said, and you fired again, and this time you hit the balloon, and the air came slowly out, and Winnie the Pooh floated down to the ground. Also, did he sing As for the Queen Bee? Imagine Beyonce in Winnie the Pooh book. All the single teddies, all the single teddies, all the single teddies. Now put balloons up. B1. Nah, I knew it was a bear singing. Singing B number 2. Oh, it was just a singing cloud. Singing clouds don't float to the ground. Well, this one did, so clearly one does. Doggone it, Beatrice. Just a flesh wound, just a little bit of one, yep. But his arms were so stiff from holding on to the string of the balloon all that time that they stayed up straight in the air for more than a week, and whenever a fly came that settled on his nose, he had to blow it off. And I think, but I am not sure, that is why he was always called Pooh. Pooh, Pooh. B1 is paranoid, or B2 is credulous. One of the two. Get her off the internet? Nah, we like our bees around here. Is that the end of the story? Well, it's the end of that one. There are others. About Pooh and me? And Piglet and Rabbit and all of you, don't you remember? I do remember, and when I try to remember, I forget. That day when Pooh and Piglet tried to catch the Heffalump? They did catch it, did they? Or they didn't catch it, did they? No. Pooh couldn't because he hasn't any brain. Did I catch it? Well, that comes into the story. I do remember. Only Pooh doesn't very well, so that's why he likes having it told to him again. Because then it's a real story and not just a remembering. That's just how I feel. Christopher Robin gave a deep sigh, picked up his bear by the leg, and walked off to the door, trailing Pooh behind him. At the door, he turned and said, Coming to see me have my bath? I might. I didn't hurt him when I shot him, did I? Not a bit. He nodded and went out, and in a moment I heard Winnie the Pooh, bump, 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 going up the stairs behind him. Ah, yes, he is paranoid. Well, all right, I suppose. And so we come to chapter 2, in which Pooh goes visiting and gets into a tight place. I know nothing of this, of course, being... Well, I'm not that round most of the time. But it's fine. It's fine. And so we've encountered the wrong sorts of bees. And now, Edward Bear, known to his friends as Winnie the Pooh, or Pooh for short, was walking through the forest one day, humming proudly to himself. Teddy is round enough to lose his footing. Oh, but you have such a low center of gravity at that point. Why would you lose your footing? He had made up a little hum that very morning as he was doing his stoutness exercises in front of the glass. Tra-la-la, tra-la-la. As he stretched up as high as he would go, then tra-la-la, tra-la, oh, help, la, as he tried to reach his toes. After breakfast, he had said it over and over to himself until he had learnt it by heart, and now he was humming it right through properly. It went a little like this. Well, okay, yes, Teddy, your center of gravity is higher up than mine because you are taller. That is fair. Neko had no idea he was an Edward when Winnie fits much better. I would tend to agree. Tra-la-la, 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 rum-tum, tiddle-um-tum, tiddle-tiddle, tiddle-diddle, 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 rum-tum-tum, tiddle-um. While he was humming this hum to himself and walked along gaily, I hope he doesn't remember to hum it again later, because I certainly won't remember what notes I roughly hit there. Wondering what everyone else was doing and what it felt like being someone else, when suddenly he came to a sandy bank, and in the bank was a large hole. "Aha!" said Pooh. "Rum-tum-tiddle-um-tum. If I know anything about anything, that hole means rabbit," he said. "And rabbit means company, and company means food, and listening to me humming and such like. Rum-tum-tum-tiddle-um." Gotta get that on your playlist. Oh my goodness, Fern. Teddy, thank you for the hydrate. Hydration completes. Rabbit indeed, Teddy. So he bent down, put his head into the hole, and called out, "Is anybody at home?" There was a sudden scuffling noise from inside the hole, and then silence. "What I said was, 'Is anybody at home?'" called out Pooh very loudly. "No," said a voice, and then added, "You needn't shout so loud. I heard you quite well the first time." "Oh, bother. Isn't there anyone here at all?" "Nobody." Winnie the Pooh took his head out of the hole and thought for a little, and he thought to himself, "Oh, there must be somebody there, because somebody must have said nobody." So he put his head back in the hole and said, "Hello, Rabbit, isn't that you?" "No," said Rabbit in a different voice this time. "But isn't that Rabbit's voice?" "I don't think so. It isn't meant to be." "Oh!" He took his head out of the hole and had another think, and then he put it back and said, "Well, could you very kindly tell me where Rabbit is?" "He has gone to see his friend Pooh Bear, who is a great friend of his." "But this is me." "What sort of me?" "Pooh Bear." "Are you sure?" Quite sure." "Oh, well then, come in." Oh, Biscuit, did you update me on your new position? I believe you did, but you're more than welcome to announce it to the chat if you'd like. You're also welcome to keep it private. Totally your choice. Mission success? Very much so, Fern. Necromancer feels for Rabbit, and is also not home when people knock on Necromancer's door. Oh dear. But that makes it much harder to visit and have company. And tea and humming sessions. Tum tum tiddle tum. So Pooh pushed and pushed and pushed his way through the hole, and at last he got in. "You were quite right," said Rabbit, looking at him all over. "It is you. Glad to see you.
Who did you think it was?
Well, I wasn't sure. You know how it is in the forest. One can't have anybody coming into one's house. One has to be careful. What about a mouthful of something? Pooh always liked a little something at 11 o'clock in the morning, and he was very glad to see Rabbit getting out the plates and mugs. And when Rabbit said, "Honey or condensed milk with your bread," he was so excited that he said, "Both." And then, so as not to seem greedy, he added, "But don't bother about the bread, please." And for a very long time after that he said nothing until, at last, humming to himself in a rather sticky voice, he got up, shook Rabbit lovingly by the paw, and said that he must be going. "Must you?"
Well, I could stay a little longer if you...
And he tried very hard to look in the direction of the larder. "As a matter of fact, I was going out myself directly."
Oh, well then I'll be going on. Goodbye."
"Well, goodbye, if you're sure you won't have any more."
"Is there any more?"
Rabbit took the covers off the dishes and said, "No, there wasn't."
"I thought not. Well, goodbye, I must be going on."
So he started to climb out of the hole. He pulled with his front paws and pushed with his back paws, and in a little while his nose was out in the open again, and then his ears, and then his front paws, and then his shoulders, and then...
"Oh, help,"
said Pooh.
"I'd better go back. Oh, bother, I shall have to go on. I can't do either. Oh, help and bother."
Pooh has a dentist appointment? I bet, after condensed milk and honey to the point that Rabbit runs out. My goodness. Just the life of an introvert? Yes, it really is. Teddy opens the door and his intimidating presence scares away people. I couldn't imagine Teddy. You look delightful and very inviting. A haiku on ambiversion. Welcome in, Ray Pierre. All right, I think it's been a while since anybody redeemed a haiku. Let's get this started. What do I have for a text editor? Here's a text editor. And, let's see if I can get this pulled up in such a way that we can see it here on the stream. I'm pretty sure I have the right piece for it. I suppose we can use this one. Alright, that is... Oh dear. I seem to have completely covered everything, including myself, with that. Perhaps we shall try a little bit differently here. Thank you all so much for bearing with me. I had forgotten that I need to do this. How art thou? Well, I art well. I fare quite well, thank you, Rapier. B1. Now the ground is singing. Oh yes, indeed, the ground is singing. You're 6'4", broad, and have a disgruntled demeanor and a resting cruelty face. No, Teddy, you have a charming face with a delightful beard. I couldn't imagine being intimidated by you. You look too much like a teddy bear. Perhaps a Pooh bear. Alright, let's make sure I can still see things while I'm writing here. And how badly does that? It doesn't seem to have messed up at all in terms of the stream. Wonderful. Seems like I blacked out. I certainly hope I haven't blacked out. But we do have a thing. A haiku thing. A haiku about ambiverts. Am I putting that right? Ambiversion. Time spent by oneself. in company of others. Both bring joy and pain. I think that meets the requirements for a haiku, and that was a haiku redeemed this time, so not a limerick. Time spent by oneself and in company of others. And in company of others. And in company of others. Others. Nah, drat. Nearly. And spent with some other folks. Can you tell it's been a while since I did a haiku? And spent with some other folks. Yes, that should do. You're quite an ambivert yourself. You do be dual wielding. Ah, well, there's nothing wrong with that. Alright, time spent by oneself and spent with some other folks. Both bring joy and pain. There we are. So, Ray-Pierre, I hope you like your haiku. We will drop it into the Discord server when all is said, done, and finished, and you can pick it up there anytime. And I believe that should be haiku complete. Fern, bee number 2. Silly Bethany, that is just a bear stuck in a rabbit hole. Wait, what? No, no, that's not a bear stuck in a rabbit hole. What are you? Okay, yes, that's totally a bear stuck in a rabbit hole. Oh my, oh dear, no bother. All right. Let's go ahead and turn the writing back off, and maybe rename it so I remember what that is next time. There we are. See, the scuff is how you know it's a professional stream. Tonka, you'll visit the serve? Wonderful. In fact, Brian, if you happen to be around and would like to put a link to the Discord server in chat, that would probably be a solid thing to do here. B1 needs glasses? I see. So B1 cannot see what is singing on the ground because B1 needs glasses. I approve, Fern. Delightful way to do it. Oh dear. Now by this time, Rabbit wanted to go for a walk too, and finding the front door full, he went out by the back door and came round to Pooh and looked at him. Hello, are you stuck?
No, just resting and thinking and humming to myself.
Here, give us a paw. Pooh Bear stretched out a paw and Rabbit pulled and pulled and pulled.
Oh, you're hurting.
The fact is, you're stuck.
It all comes of not having front doors big enough.
It all comes of eating too much. I thought at the time, only I didn't like to say anything, that one of us was eating too much, and I knew it wasn't me. Well, I shall go and fetch Christopher Robin. If the glasses are not honeycomb-shaped, you'll be sad. Aw. Just resting. There's nothing wrong with resting, Fern. Right now, Ray-Pierre is humbly frying some pork. What makes it a humble fry? Should he be proudly frying pork instead, maybe? I don't know. What are the alternatives to humble frying? Rabbit is fat-shaming. You're absolutely right, Teddy Pangolin. Rabbit is fat-shaming. And being more than a little bit rude to his, up until getting stuck in the front door, guest. And possibly still guest? I don't know. If somebody is trapped upon your threshold, do they still have guest status and entitlement to hospitality? FT Wastes, hello, welcome in. Let me get you shouted out here, dearie. So for those not already familiar with Wastes, From the Wastes is a streamer, he does books very similarly to what I do, as well as several horror games. But Wace is a particularly low voice, something very resonant. He does a fantastic job of bringing these stories, whether they're horror or simply classics of literature, to life. Go check him out. It's a wonderful time, and he's just very friend-shaped and cordial. I've never regretted talking to Wastes. Feels like so long since you've been here. It does. Oh, I'm so glad to have you here with us, Wastes. Thank you for the shout-out. Well, thank you for attending here with us tonight. Fern says, evil frying is the opposite of humble frying. I see. The pork fried in villainy creates the evil pork. Is that how that works? Necromancer thinks it is a half guest, that Pooh's bottom half remains a guest. Well, then Pooh's upper half needs to hear that his bottom half has become far too rotund. Fern, shouldn't evil frying be the opposite of pious frying? No, if you're pious frying, then you end up with a pie, a pork pie, rather than a pork fry. Maybe? I don't know. Oh, it's all about the green flames, I see. You do evil frying to get your hands on a pot lid shield? Well, now this just sounds like a Chrono Cross playthrough waiting to happen. Oh dear, oh me, oh my. What a wonderfully creative chat I have. Christopher Robin lived at the other end of the forest, and when he came back with Rabbit and saw that the front half of Pooh was stuck, he said, "Silly old bear," in such a loving voice that everyone felt quite hopeful again.
I was just beginning to think that Rabbit might never be able to use his front door again, and I should hate that.
So should I, said Rabbit. Use his front door again? Of course he'll use his front door again. Good. If we can't pull you out, Pooh, we might push you back. Rabbit scratched his whiskers thoughtfully and pointed out that once Pooh was pushed back, he was back, and of course nobody was more glad to see Pooh than he was. Still, there it was. Some lived in trees and some lived underground, and...
You mean I'd never get out?
I mean that having got so far, it seems a pity to waste it. Rabbit failing to understand sunk costs. Christopher Robin nodded. Then there's only one thing to be done. We shall have to wait for you to get thin again.
How long does getting thin take?
About a week, I should think.
But I can't stay here for a week.
You can stay here all right, silly old bear. It's getting you out which is the problem. Well, I'll read to you, and I hope it won't snow. And I say, old fellow, you're taking up a good deal of room in my house. Do you mind if I use your back legs, a towel horse? Because, I mean, there they are, doing nothing, and it would be very convenient to just hang the towels on them.
A week? What about meals?
I'm afraid no meals, because of getting thin quicker, but we will read to you. Bear began to sigh, and then found he couldn't because he was so tightly stuck, and a tear rolled down his eye as he said,
Then would you read a sustaining book, such as would help and comfort a wedged bear in great tightness?
It would be a shame if Moto Moto appears to unthick Pooh. What is Moto Moto? I'm not familiar with this one. Gonna make Pooh do a workout routine? Well, that was how Pooh started out the chapter, was with a workout routine. Just stave Pooh. Stave Pooh. Oh my goodness. No, we don't want... starve. Starve Pooh. Okay, we're not bringing staffs out to whack Pooh. That would be staving. No, just starve Pooh. Well, that is exactly what they're proposing. Leave him as a very hungry bear in a great tightness. So for a week, Christopher Robin read the sort of book at the north end of Pooh, and Rabbit hung his washing on the south end, and in between, Bear felt himself getting slenderer and slenderer, and at the end of the week, Christopher Robin said, "Now!" So he took hold of Pooh's front paws, and Rabbit took hold of Christopher Robin, and all Rabbit's friends and relations took hold of Rabbit, and they all pulled together. And for a long time, Pooh only said, "Oh!" and "Oh!" And then, all of a sudden, he said, "Pop!" just as if a cork were coming out of a bottle. And Christopher Robin and Rabbit and all Rabbit's friends and relations went head over heels backward, and on top of them came Winnie the Pooh, free. So with a nod of thanks to his friends, he went on with his walk through the forest, humming proudly to himself. But Christopher Robin looked after him lovingly and said to himself, "Silly old bear." Pooh the pinata? No! No, we're not making Pooh into a pinata. Teddy, he's a bear of very little brain, not a bear of no feelings. Oh dear, do not pinata the Pooh, please. The mice will be skewered? What? Teddy, what on earth are you doing? Done? Yes, indeed, Fern. Quite done.
Oh, bother, they're after my candy again. Oh, dear.
Mouse. Who is the mouse? Do we have a mouse? Oh, you're saying in the illustration. There's a mouse on the far end holding onto the hedgehog, and he's going to get stuck by the hedgehog spines. Oh my! Oh no, oh dear, oh my. Well, if Sonic the Hedgehog has taught us anything, it's that hedgehogs cannot damage other animals while they destroy robots. I'm sure this is the lesson to take away from any of the Sonic games. Sonic reference, yes indeed, Vern. Oh, Necromancer saying if Pooh is to have any candy, it should be Bitto honey. I approve, Necromancer. That or a honey stick, perhaps. Chapter 3, in which Pooh and Piglet go hunting and nearly catch a woozle. Sorry, makes Pooh thicker. Moto Moto is a hippo from Madagascar. Is that... I'm not certain I understand it all, but I'm glad it works for you, Rapier. Sonic refrigerator 50 years before Sonic? Huh? I'm not quite sure what you're getting at there either, Fern. Apparently, I'm having a hard time keeping up with things here tonight, chat. But that's alright. It's a lovely time all the same. The piglet lived in a very grand house in the middle of a beech tree, and the beech tree was in the middle of the forest, and Piglet lived in the middle of the house. Next to his house was a broken board which had "Trespassers" on it. When Christopher Robin asked the piglet what it meant, he said it was his grandfather's name, and had been in the family for a long time. Christopher Robin said you couldn't be called Trespassers, and Piglet said yes you could, because his grandfather was, and it was short for Trespassers Will, which was short for Trespassers William, and his grandfather had two names in case he lost one, Trespassers, after an uncle, and William, after Trespassers. I've got two names, said Christopher Robin carelessly. Well, there you are. That proves it, said Piglet. I'm not certain I like that voice for Piglet. What do we want to do for Piglet's voice? Do you wanna do something? There's game theory going on. Okay, that would make sense. The Moto Moto lore will be explained to me later. Also good. But what do we want to do about Piglet voice? I don't want to go squeaky on this one, because Piglet has lines. Lots and lots of lines. And I don't want to be squealing through the entire thing. But I also don't want to make him Ooh, I know what we'll do,
Well, there you are. That proves it.
said Piglet. Oh, this'll be fun. One fine winter's day, when Piglet was brushing away the snow in front of his house, he happened to look up, and there was Winnie the Pooh. Pooh was walking around and around in a circle, just thinking of something else, and when Piglet came back to him, he just went on and on walking.
Hello.
Said Piglet.
What are you doing?
Hunting,
Hunting what?
tracking something, said Winnie the Pooh mysteriously.
Tracking what?
That's just what I ask myself. What?
What do you think you'll answer?
I shall have to wait until I catch up with it. Now look there. Pooh pointed to the ground in front of him. What do you see there? Best Piglet voice. I'm glad it's approved by chat. Oh, Piglet turned into a boar. Yes, indeed. Oh yes, Piglet only lives in the middle of the house. The rest of it's unoccupied. Plot points. Piglet, the middle-aged man. Yes, as all piglets are, you know. Middle-aged men. What do you see there?
Tracks. Paw marks.
He gave a little squeak of excitement.
Oh, Pooh! Do you think it's a woozle?
It may be. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. You never can tell with paw marks. With these few words, he went on tracking, and Piglet, after watching him for a minute or two, ran after him. Winnie the Pooh had come to a sudden stop and was bending over the tracks in a puzzled sort of way.
What's the matter?
It's a very funny thing, but there seem to be two animals now. This, whatever it was, has been joined by another, whatever it is, and the two of them are now proceeding in company. Would you mind coming with me, Piglet, in case they turn out to be hostile animals? The combat music just makes it so much better. It really does. I'm so glad we picked this soundtrack for this book. It's just the ridiculous we need. Piglet sounds like he'd take you to dinner, gentlemanlike.
Well, I'm glad you think that way, Rapier.
It duplicated! Yes! Well, no, it's joined by a smaller one. They'll duplicate later. Piglet scratched his ear in a nice sort of way and said that he had nothing to do until Friday and would be delighted to come along, in case it really was a woozle. You mean in case it really is two woozles? Said Winnie the Pooh, and Piglet said that anyhow he had nothing going on until Friday, so off they went together. There was a small spinney of larch trees just here, and it seemed as if the two woozles, if that is what they were, had been going around the spinney. So round the spinney went Pooh and Piglet after them. Piglet passing the time by telling Pooh that his grandfather, Trespassers had done to remove the stiffness after tracking, and how his grandfather, Trespassers had suffered in his later years from the shortness of breath, and other matters of interest, and Pooh wondering what a grandfather was like, and if perhaps this was two grandfathers they were after now, and, if so, whether he would be allowed to take one home and keep it, and what Christopher Robin would say. And still the tracks went on in front of them. It is 11:59 on a Thursday? I see. Does that mean something specific, Farron? Is that something I should be aware of? How can I best make use of Thursday 11:59? Wait, Thursday 11:59. Oh, you're saying Piglet only has a minute left. Okay. I am slow, because you never can tell with streamers. Newsflash, Rapier is evil frying now. Oil showers upon thee and holds thee fast. Oil, cook, fry, sizzle, and pop. Leave us all a sobbing sup. Fryer oil! or something. I don't know. Fun fact, we have a popular movie about stealing a grandpa. In Swedish. Ah, okay. So the Swedish are grandfather thieves. Of course they would be. It's the dark cauldron? Ah! The dark cauldron used for evil frying, yes. I'm sure that's how that works. The black cauldron for evil fries. It's funny you're still cooking pork. All right. Oh, yes, you're
cooking pork in front of Piglet. Oh, you are a bold one.
Please do not fry pork in front of Piglet.
Oh, no, I mean, hey, this is fascinating. Also, when you're a piglet, you don't want to offend the person who eats pigs. Just, putting that out there. Keep your cool, look them square in the eyes, and say, hey. That's all you have to do.
Okay, the music got me there again, too. Suddenly, Winnie the Pooh stopped and pointed excitedly in front of him. Look!
What?
Said Piglet with a jump. And then, to show that he hadn't been frightened, he jumped up and down once or twice more in an exercising sort of way. Well, we went from stealing all the hot ladles, and now we want grandpas. I see. I guess that's just how the Swedish do. Necromancer always wanted more food. Sorry, Piglet. I mean, hey, we're not making Piglet into Cutlet right now, so it's fine. It's fine.
The tracks! A third animal has joined the other two. Pooh, do you think it is another woozle?
No, because it makes different marks. It is either two woozles and one, as it might be, whizzle, or two as it might be whizzles and one, if so it is, woozle. Let us continue to follow them. It's extra funny because in D&D you're a tree guy and your party members are vegan. Sounds like they've got you stumped. It's good to branch out with your characters, though. Alright, so they went on, feeling just a little anxious now, in case the three animals in front of them were of hostile intent. And Piglet wished very much that his grandfather, T.W., were there, instead of elsewhere, and Pooh thought how nice it would be if they met Christopher Robin, suddenly, but quite accidentally, and only because he liked Christopher Robin so much. And then, all of a sudden, Winnie the Pooh stopped again and licked the tip of his nose in a cooling manner, for he was feeling more hot and anxious than ever in his life before. There were 4 animals in front of them. More good music. Doom! Yes. Rooting for the tree, always a good option. I approve, Wastes. If Teddy could cook bacon and eggs, please do. I would be delighted to have Teddy and bacon and eggs. Like, this just sounds like a fantastic morning. There is nothing wrong with that.
Do you see, Piglet? Look at their tracks. 3, as it were, woozles, and 1, as it were, whizzle. Another woozle has joined them.
And so it seemed to be. There were the tracks, crossing over each other here, getting muddled up with each other there, but quite plainly now, every now and then, the tracks of 4 sets of paws.
I think,
said Piglet when he had licked the tip of his nose too, and found that it brought very little comfort.
I think that I have just remembered something. I've just remembered something that I forgot to do today and shan't be able to do tomorrow, so I suppose I really ought to go back and do it now.
We'll do it this afternoon, and I'll come with you.
It isn't the sort of thing you can do in the afternoon. It's a very particular morning thing that has to be done in the morning and, if possible, between the hours of, what time would you say it was?
About 12.
Between, as I was saying, the hours of 12 and 5. So really, dear old Pooh, if you'll excuse me. What's that?
Pooh looked up at the sky, and then, as he heard the whistle again, he looked up into the branches of a big oak tree, and there he saw a friend of his.
It's Christopher Robin. Then you'll be all right. You'll be quite safe with him. Goodbye.
And he trotted off home as quickly as he could, very glad to be out of all danger again. Christopher Robin slowly climbed down the tree. Silly old bear, what were you doing? First you went round the spinney twice by yourself, and then Piglet ran after you and you went round again together, and then you were just going round a fourth time.
Oh, wait a minute,
said Pooh, holding up his paw. He sat down and thought in the most thoughtful way he could think. Then he fitted his paw into one of the tracks, and then he scratched his nose twice and stood up.
Yes, I see now. I have been foolish and deluded. I am a bear of no brain at all.
You're the best bear in all the world.
Am I?
Said Pooh hopefully, and he brightened up suddenly.
Anyhow, it is nearly luncheon time.
And so he went home for it. Teddy imagines Piglet with a woodman's axe. Yes, Piglet, this tiny little thing, just carrying around a massive hatchet.
All right, well, you seem to have this wood under control, but just in case, let's give it a little chop here. 1, 2, 1, 2, through and through. You know, as you do.
Oh, neat. It's your favorite guy in the next chapter? Oh, you're excited for Eeyore. Okay. Piglet the lumberjack.
He's a lumberjack and he's okay. He works all night and he sleeps all day. Or wait. You know what? Sure, we'll roll with it. Take challenges that trains for fun.
I see. Oh dear. I have, however, run out of water, and as excited as I am to get into a chapter that has Eeyore in it, and Owl for that matter, I am going to go get something to drink. I will be right back. Thank you all for holding out with me. Oh, Teddy, of course, redeeming hydrate right as I get up to go get some water. Thank you, Teddy. I'll be sure to take a sip while I'm away, so we have plenty of water for the stream. Oh my, where did I put that BRB sign? I believe I have it in here somewhere. There we are. That'll... So, can I do anything much with it? I don't know that I can do anything much with it. More's the pity. Or perhaps... Give it a drop shadow, but that's... I don't know. Does it look nicer with a shadow? I think it looks nicer with a shadow. More legible. Anyway. Alright, well, one of these days, I shall have to make sure that I do something about getting a sign made up. Perhaps one of our streams will be dedicated to it. In the meanwhile, I'll be right back. Thank you all so much for your patience with me. I have indeed returned. And Fern, thank you for what looks to be a green flame. Or no, a pear. A pear? I am not sure what I'll do with the pear other than munch on it, but thank you for the pear. Better with the shadow? Alright, we'll leave the drop shadow in place. And with that, let's begin reading chapter 4, in which Eeyore loses a tail and Pooh finds one. Ah, it's a tale about a tail. Well, I wouldn't want to miss it then, would I? The old grey donkey Eeyore stood by himself in a thistly corner of the forest, his front feet well apart, his head on one side, and thought about things. Sometimes he thought sadly to himself, "Why?" And sometimes he thought, "Wherefore?" And sometimes he thought, "Inasmuch as which?" And sometimes he didn't quite know what he was thinking about. So, when Winnie the Pooh came stumping along, Eeyore was very glad to be able to stop thinking for a little in order to say, "How do you do?" in a gloomy manner to him. I'm not quite sure what that word's supposed to be, Fern. Is there maybe another way to write it? It might come to me in a moment, too. After all, I'm not this thing, but I do catch up eventually. Oh no. Oh no, what crashed? I definitely see something as having crashed. I've crashed, I suppose? Or perhaps I'm just lagging? Tailception? Oh, I see, an Inception joke. Yes, no, I've definitely frozen. More's the pity. More is the pity. Alright, let me see what I can do here about getting back to actually looking like me. One moment, please. I'm sure this will just take a second. And how are you? Said Winnie the Pooh. Eeyore shook his head from side to side. Not very how. I don't seem to have felt at all how for a long time. Dear, dear, I'm sorry about that. Let's have a look at you. So Eeyore stood there, gazing sadly at the ground, and Winnie the Pooh walked all around him once. Why, what's happened to your tail? What has happened to it? Oh my goodness, things are crashing all over the place. It isn't there. Are you sure? Well, either a tail is there or it isn't. You can't make a mistake about that. And yours isn't there. Then what is? Why, nothing. Let's have a look, said Eeyore, and he turned slowly round to the place where his tail had been only a little while ago. Then, finding as he couldn't catch it up, he turned round the other way until he came back to where he was at first, and then he put his head down and looked right between his front legs, and at last he said, with a long sigh, I believe you're right. Eat the good luck pear, it'll unfreeze my avatar? Well, I hope so. We'll find out in a moment if it does. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Alright, OBS, may I have my avatar back, please? Don't get me wrong, that's a very cute look to freeze on, but I still would rather be not frozen, if at all possible. Let's see, I think it is this? Ha ha! Success! I am returned, chat. I come to you, a new woman who was already here. Not particularly new, but still, I have returned, and that is what matters. See, your good luck pear did help after all, Fern. Thank you very much for the pear. Of course I'm right.
That accounts for a good deal. It explains everything. No wonder.
You must have left it somewhere.
Somebody must have taken it. How like them.
What? I don't want to be frozen. I don't want to be frozen. I may not be the most active, but I don't want to freeze. Nuh-uh. It's very true. Pooh felt that he ought to say something helpful about it, but didn't quite know what. So he decided to do something helpful instead. There we go, Pooh. If you can't do something helpful with words, do something helpful. Celine 2.0 fixed the bug where she'd enter the room and forget why she went there. Necromancer, how dare you? How dare you call me out on consistently forgetting what I have come into a room for? Grandmother used to speak about the hereafter, as in, what did I come here after? So I certainly inherited that from her as well as some of the storytelling. Eeyore, I, Winnie the Pooh, will find your tale for you.
Thank you, Pooh. You're a real friend. Not like some.
So Winnie the Pooh went off to find Eeyore's tale. It was a fine spring morning in the forest, and he started out. Little soft clouds played happily in a blue sky, skipping from time to time in front of the sun, as if they had come to put it out, and then sliding away suddenly so that the next might have his turn. Through them and between them the sun shone bravely, and a copse, which had worn its furs all year round, seemed old and dowdy now beside the new green lace which the beeches had put on so prettily. Through the copse and spinney marched the bear, down open slopes of gorse and heather, over rocky beds of streams, up steep banks of sandstone, into the heather again. I'm sure Eeyore's gone all this way without his tail. That seems so very natural. And so at last, tired and hungry, to the 100 Acre Wood. For it was in the 100 Acre Wood that Owl lived. And if anyone knows anything about anything, it's Owl who knows something about something. Well, my name's not Winnie the Pooh, which it is, so there you are. Owl lived at the Chestnuts, an old-world residence of great charm, which was grander than anybody else's, or seemed so to bear, because it had both a knocker and a pull bell. Underneath the knocker there was a notice which said, "Please ring if an answer is required." Underneath the bell pull there was a notice which said, "Please knock if an answer is not required." Depression donkey. Yes, Eeyore is very much the depression donkey. Pooh puts down the lore. What lore is Pooh putting down here, Teddy? These notices had been written by Christopher Robin, who was the only one in the forest who could spell. For Owl, wise though he was in many ways, able to read and write and spell his own name, W-O-L, able to spell his name, W-O-L, yet somehow went all to pieces over delicate words like measles and buttered toast. Wait, Eeyore? E-E-Y-O-R-E, I believe is Eeyore. It's just a theory, I see. Harpy Hair by Yakelor sounds like a good song for Winnie the Pooh right now. I don't think I've heard that one. You'll have to put it in chat or Discord at some point. How do you spell Eeyore in English? That is usually how it's spelled in English, Teddy Pangolin. Alright. Winnie the Pooh read the two notices very carefully, first from left to right, and afterward, in case he had missed some of it, right to left. Then, to make quite sure, he knocked and pulled the knocker, and he pulled and knocked the bell rope, and called out in a very loud voice, "Owl, I require an answer. It is Bear speaking." And the door opened, and Owl looked out. Oh, his name is Eeyore in Swedish. I see. I'm not sure if you can hear the difference in spelling from me saying it, but his name is Eeyore in Swedish, and it is Eeyore in English. Who? Who? What? Who? No. Who? Or Eeyore in this case. Eeyore being spelled in Swedish as I-O-R. So, there you are. And I and O as well. Hello, Pooh. Let's see here. Hello, Pooh. How's things? Will that work? Terrible and sad, because Eeyore, who is a friend of mine, has lost his tail, and he's moping about it. So could you very kindly tell me how to find it for him? Well, the customary procedure in such cases is as follows. What does crustamony procid-cake mean? For I am a bear of very little brain, and long words bother me. It means the thing to do. As long as it means that, I don't mind. The first thing to do follows. First, issue a reward, then, just a moment. What do we do to this? What were you saying? You sneezed just as you were going to tell me. I didn't sneeze. Yes, you did, Howl. Excuse me, Pooh, I didn't. You can't sneeze without knowing it. Well, you can't know it without something having been sneezed. What I said was first issue a reward. You're doing it again. A reward, said Owl very loudly. We will write a notice and say that we will give a large something to anybody who finds Eeyore's tail. Eeyore? Oh, I see, Rapier. Who, why do we have who's in chat? See, even the Danish spell it like Teddy Pangolins. I don't blame you, but you've got to remember that the Americans are not going to catch that an I is a long E sound. So, in order to accommodate for that, I'm sure they just put a couple of E's in place. Who, why? Fern, why are you hooting at me in chat? I know I'm the owl mom, but I didn't expect my son to be an owl at me in the middle of my own stream. What is the world coming to? Oh dear, oh dear. Also, Eeyore is the English original spelling. Well, I haven't got any further thoughts on that then. I see, said Pooh, nodding his head. Talking about large somethings, he went on dreamily. I generally have a small something about now, about this time in the morning. And he looked wistfully at the cupboard in the corner of Owl's parlor. Just a mouthful of condensed milk or whatnot, with perhaps a lick of honey. Well then, we'll write out this notice and put it up all over the forest. A lick of honey, or not, as the case may be. And he gave a deep sigh and tried very hard to listen to what Owl was saying. Oh, Fern is a who fern. Okay, I see. And now Teddy's joined in with the hooting. Oh dear, your hooters. Oh my goodness, you silly, silly folks. I'll allow it. But Howl went on, using longer and longer words, until at last he came back to where he started, and he explained that the person to write out this notice was Christopher Robin.
It was he who wrote the ones on my front door for me. Did you see them, Pooh?
For some time now, Pooh had been saying, "Yes," and then, "No," in turn, with his eyes shut, to all that Owl was saying, and having said, "Yes, yes," last time, he said, "No, not at all," now, without really knowing what Owl was talking about.
Didn't you see them? Come and look at them now.
So they went outside, and Pooh looked at the knocker and the notice below it, and he looked at the bell rope and the notice below it. And the more he looked at the bell rope, the more he felt that he had seen something like it before. Somewhere else, some time before. Oh dear, the entire chat has become hooing. Oh, you're all a hoot. Love it.
A handsome bell rope, isn't it?
Said Owl, and Pooh nodded. It reminds me of something, but I can't think what. Where did you get it?
I just came across it in the forest. It was hanging over a bush, and I thought at first somebody lived there, so I rang it. And nothing happened, and I rang it again very loudly, and it came off in my hand, and as nobody seemed to want it, I took it home, and...
Owl, you made a mistake. Somebody did want it.
Who?
Eeyore, my dear friend Eeyore. He was fond of it.
Fond of it?
Well, attached to it, said Pooh very sadly. All the hoots in chat. Oh my goodness. I'm glad y'all give a hoot while I'm doing these readings. So with these words, he unhooked it and carried it back to Eeyore, and when Christopher Robin had nailed it on in its right place again, Eeyore frisked about the forest, waving his tail so happily that Winnie the Pooh came over all funny and had to hurry home for a little snack of something to sustain him. And wiping his mouth half an hour afterward, he sang to himself proudly, "Who found the tail? I," said Pooh, "at 2:45, only it was really 11:15. I found the tail." Owl, what the heck? Don't throw out people's stuff. Well, don't take people's stuff. If you come to a tail that's stuck on a thorny bush, you don't take it home and turn it into a bell pull. I mean, unless the person who left the tail there didn't actually care. But no, I mean, Eeyore was very attached to his tail, except for, the part that he kind of felt separated from it. Oh, such a funny little... Is this not an excited animal? Look, he's got the little grin and the flops and the upside downs. I wonder what it would look like if I animated an owl doing all of this. How would you even transition between these? Oh my goodness. I'll have to give it a go sometime. If I ever properly pull it off, we'll have to make it into a dancing emote of some sort. Alright. Owl is pulling on Eeyore's tail. Owl is having everybody pull on Eeyore's tail, at least if they want an answer. Or that's the intent. One day, when Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh and Piglet were all talking together, Christopher Robin finished the mouthful he was eating and said carelessly, "I saw a heffalump today, Piglet."
What was it doing?
Asked Piglet. "Just jumping along. I don't think it saw me."
I saw one once. At least I think it did. Only perhaps it wasn't.
The Who's continue. Oh dear. If we got a band for a chat, I'm sure it would be called The Who.
So did I,
said Pooh, wondering what a heffalump was like. You don't see them often.
Not now.
Not at this time of year. Then they all talked about something else until it was time for Pooh and Piglet to go home together. At first, they stumped along the path which edged the 100-acre wood. They didn't say much to each other, but when they came to the stream and had helped each other over the stepping stones and were able to walk side by side again over the heather, they began to talk in a friendly way about this and that, and Piglet said,
If you see what I mean, Pooh.
And Pooh said,
It is just what I think myself, Piglet.
And Piglet said,
But on the other hand, Pooh, we must remember.
And Pooh said,
Quite true, Piglet, although I had forgotten it for a moment.
And then they came to the 6 pine trees. Pooh looked around to see that nobody else was listening, and said in a very solemn voice,
Piglet, I have decided something. What have you decided, Pooh?
The fern will have its final hoo. What? You silly goof. It's a hoo. I can't hold that, but
I have decided to catch a heffalump.
Pooh nodded his head several times as he said this, and waited for Piglet to say,
Oh.
Or,
Pooh, you couldn't.
Or something helpful of that sort, but Piglet said nothing. The fact was, Piglet was wishing that he had thought about it first.
I shall do it,
said Pooh after waiting a little longer,
by means of a trap, and it must be a cunning trap, so you will have to help me, Piglet. Pooh,
said Piglet, feeling quite happy again now.
I will.
And then he said,
How shall we do it?
And Pooh said,
Oh, that's just it. How?
And they sat down together to think it out. Pooh's first idea was that they should dig a very deep pit, and then the heffalump would come along and fall into the pit and...
Why?
Why what?
Why would he fall in?
Pooh rubbed his nose with his paw and said that the heffalump might be walking along humming a little song and looking up at the sky wondering if it would rain, and so he wouldn't see the very deep pit until he was halfway down when it would be too late. Piglet said that this was a very good trap, but supposing it were raining already? Pooh rubbed his nose again and said that he hadn't thought of that. And then he brightened up and said that if it were raining already, the heffalump would be looking at the sky wondering when it would clear up, and so he wouldn't see the very deep pit until he was halfway down when it would be too late. Piglet said that now that this point had been explained, he thought it was a cunning trap. Pooh was very proud when he heard this, and he felt that the heffalump was as good as caught already. But there was one other thing which had to be thought about, and it was this. Where should they dig this very deep pit? Piglet said that the best place would be to somewhere where a heffalump was, just before he fell into it, only about a foot farther on.
But then he would see us digging it. Not if he was looking at the sky. He would suspect if he happened to look down.
He thought for a moment and then added sadly,
"'Tisn't as easy as I thought. I suppose that's why heffalumps hardly ever get caught."
Pit would work on Neko. They're ADD and would never see it coming. I feel like you could see the pits. But I know for me, the problem isn't whether or not I see it. It's, there's a pit. I gotta see what's at the bottom. Bonsai! After all, when you come to a pit in the road, hop inside. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, that must be it,
said Piglet. They sighed and got up, and when they had taken a few gorse prickles out of themselves, they sat down again. And all the time Pooh was saying to himself,
"If only I could think of something."
For he felt sure that a very clever brain could catch a heffalump if only he knew the right way to go about it.
Suppose you wanted to catch me. How would you do it?
Oh, sorry, that was suppose he said to Piglet.
Suppose,
he said to Piglet, You wanted to catch me. How would you do it?
Well, I should do it like this. I should make a trap, and I should put a jar of honey in the trap, and you would smell it, and you would go in after it,
And I would go in after it. Only very carefully so as not to hurt myself, and I would get to the jar of honey, and I should lick round the edges first of all, pretending that there wasn't any more, you know, and then I should walk away and think about it a little, and then I should come back and start licking the middle of the jar, and then...
Yes, well, never mind about that. There you would be, and there I should catch you. Now, the first thing to think of is, what are heffalumps like? I should think acorns, don't you? We'll get a lot of... hey, wake up, Pooh.
Pooh, who had gone into a happy dream, woke up with a start and said that honey was just a much more trappy thing than acorns. Reminds you of when Pratchett wrote about a lever with a sign that said, "Do not pull." No, not even to see what it does. And yet, even then, I'm sure it gets pulled. That seems like just the sort of thing to leave lying around Ankh-Morpork. Oh dear. Piglet didn't think so, and they were going to argue about it when Piglet remembered that if they put acorns in the trap, he would have to find acorns, but if they put honey, then Pooh would have to give up some of his own honey. So he said,
Alright, honey then.
Just as Pooh remembered it too, and was going to say, "Alright, acorns."
Honey,
said Piglet to himself in a thoughtful way, as if it were now settled.
I'll dig the pit while you go get the honey.
Very well, said Pooh, and he stumped off. As soon as he got home, he went to the larder and stood on a chair and took down a very large jar of honey from the top shelf. It had honey written on it, but just to make sure, he took off the paper cover and looked at it, and it looked just like honey. But you never can tell. I remember my uncle saying once that he had seen cheese just this color. So he put his tongue in and took a large lick. Yes, it is no doubt about that. And honey, I should say, right down to the bottom of the jar. Unless, of course, somebody put cheese in the bottom, just for a joke. Perhaps I had better go a little further, just in case Huffalumps don't like cheese. Same as me. Ah! And he gave a deep sigh. I was right, it is honey, all the way down. Having made certain of this, he took the jar back to Piglet, and Piglet looked up from the bottom of his very deep pit and said,
Got it?
And Pooh said, Yes, but it isn't quite a full jar. And he threw it down to Piglet, and Piglet said, No.
No, it isn't. Is this all you've got left?
And Pooh said, Yes, because it was. So Piglet put the jar at the bottom of the pit and climbed out, and they went home together. Necromancer is a Helgalump expert. They love anime figures. Or wait, you're thinking of anime fans. Shabam, welcome in. Do we have any mods in chat who can shout out Shabam? We'll give just a moment there. If you're not already familiar with Shabam, I seem to recall her doing games of some sort. It's actually been entirely too long since we've seen each other. Alright, let's get you shouted out properly. But Shabam is always somebody who I enjoy getting to spend time with when they're available, so definitely go check them out. But yeah, Shabam, welcome in. It has been too long, but I'm delighted to have you here. We are just watching as Pooh and Piglet try to catch a heffalump using the remains of a jar of honey that Pooh has stuck his nose into to the bottom to make sure it was all honey. And Piglet has dug a very deep pit in order to facilitate this.
Well, good night, Pooh,
said Piglet when they got to Pooh's house.
And we meet at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning by the pine tree and see how many heffalumps we've got in our trap.
6 o'clock, Piglet. And have you got any string?
No, why do you want string?
To lead them home with.
Oh, I think heffalumps come if you whistle. Oh, some do and some don't. You never can tell with heffalumps. Well, good night. Good night.
Welcome, raiders? Wait, was there a raid that I missed? I don't see a raid. Well, if there are raiders, welcome in. If there are not raiders, welcome Ray Pierre. Let's see here. And off Piglet trotted to his house, trespassers woo, while Pooh made his preparations for bed. Some hours later, just as the night was beginning to steal away, Pooh woke up suddenly with a sinking feeling. He had that sinking feeling before, and he knew what it meant. He was hungry. So he went to the larder, and he stood on a chair and reached up to the top shelf and found nothing. Necromancer is raiding the fridge? What a wonderful idea. Pooh seems to agree with you there, Necromancer.
That's funny. I know I had a jar of honey up there. A full jar full of honey right to the top, and it had honey written on it, so that I should know it was honey. That's very funny.
And then he began to wander up and down, wondering where it was, and murmuring a murmur to himself. You eating good piglet right now? Ah, I see. You've got that fried pork ready for you. Sorry, you think you were delayed, but you're going to pillage the plundering? Or plungering. Pillage the plungering? Who's plungering in my chat? How dare! I didn't expect people to plunger. I expected them to plunder, of course, and pillage, naturally. But plungering? I don't know, chat. Pooh's murmur went a little something like this.
It's very, very funny, 'cause I know I had some honey, 'cause it had a label on saying honey. A glob's just full of pot too, and I don't know where it's got to. No, I don't know where it's gone. Well, it's funny.
He had murmured this to himself 3 times in a singing sort of way, when suddenly he remembered he had put it into the cunning trap to catch the heffalump.
Bother! It all comes of trying to be kind to heffalumps.
And he got back into bed. But he couldn't sleep. The more he tried to sleep, the more he couldn't. He tried counting sheep, which is sometimes a good way of getting to sleep, and as that was no good, he tried counting heffalumps, and that was worse, because every heffalump that he counted was making straight for a pot of Pooh's honey and eating it all. For some minutes he lay there miserably, but when the 587th heffalump was licking its jaws and saying to itself, very good honey, this. I don't know when I've tasted better. Pooh could bear it no longer. He jumped out of bed, he ran out of the house and ran straight into the 6 pine trees. Necromancer is plungering because toilets are clogged. You know what? I'll leave you to that. That's I don't want to do that. That's gross. The sun was still in bed, but there was a lightness in the sky over the 100 Acre Wood, which seemed to show that it was waking up and would soon be kicking off the clothes. In the half-light, the pine trees looked cold and lonely, and the very deep pit seemed deeper than it was, and Pooh's jar of honey at the bottom was something mysterious, a shape and no more. But as he got nearer to it, his nose told him that it was indeed honey, and his tongue came out and began to polish up his mouth, ready for it.
Bother,
said Pooh as he got his nose inside the jar.
A heffalump has been eating it.
And then he thought a little and said,
Oh no, I did. I forgot.
Indeed, he had eaten most of it, but there was a very little left at the very bottom of the jar. He pushed his head right in and began to lick. By and by, Piglet woke up. As soon as he woke, he said to himself, Oh!
Sorry, morning voice. Oh.
Then he very bravely said,
Yes.
And then, still more bravely,
Quite so.
But he didn't feel very brave, for the word which was really jiggering about in his brain was
heffalumps.
What was a heffalump like? Was it fierce? Did it come when whistled? And how did it come? Was it fond of pigs at all? If it was fond of pigs, did it make any difference what sort of pig? Supposing it was fierce with pigs, would it make any difference if the pig had a grandfather called Trespassers William? He didn't know the answer to any of these questions, and he was going to see his first heffalump in an hour from now. Of course, Pooh would be there with him, and it was much more friendly with two. But suppose heffalumps were very fierce with pigs and bears. Wouldn't it be better to be prepared? Or to pretend that he had a headache, and he couldn't go up to the 6 Pines in the morning? But then suppose that it was a very fine day, and there was no heffalump in the trap. Here he would be in bed all morning, simply wasting his time for nothing. What should he do? And then he had a clever idea. He would go up very quietly to the 6 pine trees now, peep very cautiously into the trap, and see if there was a heffalump there. And if there was, he would go back to bed, and if there wasn't, he wouldn't. So off he went. At first he thought there wouldn't be a heffalump in the trap, then he thought there would, and as he got nearer, he was sure there would, because he could hear it heffalumping about like anything.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear,
said Piglet to himself, and he wanted to run away, but somehow, having got so near, he felt that he must just see what a heffalump was like. So he crept to the side of the trap and looked in. And all the time, Winnie the Pooh had been trying to get the honey jar off his head. The more he shook it, the more tightly it became stuck.
bother,
he said inside the jar, and "Oh, help!" and mostly "Ow!" And he tried bumping it against things, but he couldn't see what it was he was bumping against. Didn't help him, and he tried to climb out of the trap, but as he could see nothing but the jar, and not much of that, he couldn't find his way. So at last he lifted up his head, jar and all, and made a loud roaring noise of sadness and despair. And it was at that moment that Piglet looked down.
help, help, wow, too startled to use the right voice. Help, help, a heffalump, a horrible heffalump.
And he scampered off as hard as he could, still crying out,
Help, help, a horrible heffalump, huff, huff, a hellable huffalump, huffable horlarump.
And he didn't stop crying and scampering until he got to Christopher Robin's house. He's Elden ringing it with a jar head, I suppose, maybe. "Whatever's the matter, Piglet?" said Christopher Robin, who was just getting up.
Heff,
said Piglet, breathing so hard he could barely speak.
Heffalump.
"Where?
Up there.
What did it look like?"
Like, it had the biggest head you ever saw, Christopher Robin. A great, enormous thing, like nothing. A huge, big, like I don't know, like an enormous big nothing, like a jar.
"Well, I shall go and look at it. Come on," said Christopher Robin, putting on his shoes. Piglet wasn't afraid if he had Christopher Robin with him, so off they went.
I can hear it, can't you?
"I can hear something." It was Pooh bumping his head against a tree root that he had found.
There,
Said Piglet,
isn't it awful?
and he held tight onto Christopher Robin's hand. Suddenly, Christopher Robin began to laugh, and he laughed, and he laughed, and he laughed. And while he was still laughing, crash went the heffalump's head against the tree root, smash went the jar, and out came Pooh's head again. Then Piglet saw what a foolish piglet he had been, and he was so ashamed of himself that he ran straight off home and went to bed with a headache. But Christopher Robin and Pooh went home to breakfast together. "Oh, Bear, how I do love you,"
So do I.
replied Pooh. Oh my goodness. Well, we've definitely been at this a minute. And I suppose we are getting on toward the end of things. I really should start prepping for a new day ahead of me here. But thank you very much to everybody who's dropped in. It's been lovely to see you all. I hope you've had a wonderful time. I hope the hooting hasn't made everybody too tired. We don't normally get so many whoos in chat, but I suppose there's nothing wrong with it at the end of the day. Been nice hanging with me. Well, thank you, Rapier. It's been lovely having you here with us. Let's see if we can find a proper raid target. Well, I do see several different people here. That's not a bad thing at all. Do we have anybody who's reading and writing, though? Oh. You know what? I see somebody who is just coming online. Why don't we give them a moment here to finish getting ready, and then we will drop in. Hoot, bye, it's been fun. Well, thank you. Oh, you forgot to get the Discord link? Well, let's get that now here. Get it over into chat so that people can use it. If you're interested in joining our Discord, it's not the most active thing out there, but we do enjoy posting little bits of artwork and saying hello to each other sometimes. There's hardly a bad reason to be in it, really. So let me get the link. I'll just use the copy button there, and come over here and do the paste button. And there is a Discord link. So if you'd like to join in the conversation, if you'd like to spend some time with me outside of streams, that is a lovely place to do so. You'd like to chill around? Well, we'd love to have you, Rapier. It's always lovely to see you. Alright, I think we should be in an okay place to start the raid here. Let's see if I can pull that back up. Apparently it's going to take me a moment to find the person that I wanted to raid. Grr, how dare Twitch? How dare. Alright, so we will start the raid to Fabulich. Thank you all very much for joining in, and please say a lovely hello to Fabulich when you get over there. I'm glad you've joined our stream today. Stream here ends, the stream here. But it's time to go our separate ways. Yes, it's time to end the stream here. Stream here ends, the stream here. Oh, stream here ends, the stream here. For the software's scuffed and the bit rate's low, and it's time to end the stream here. Until next time, I'll be waiting.